This was a just a random Jon Stewart talking to this guy. I don't even know who the guy was. I mean, I know who he is now, but I didn't. And he's a British, I guess, a satirist and publisher or something like that. And they just something he happened to say that stuck in my mind. And then then I've been thinking more about the anti-fan grift, and like it's a grift, but it's also a political thing. And like, so trying to put into context, kind of make those lock together, and like, what is it? Just trying to understand it in a comprehensive way, right? Been doing this 3 years, and that feels like the last bit of thing that I didn't fully understand, right? Like why they are doing this politically and as a grift, and like what's priority to them and stuff, and so on. And it's like, I think I understand it now. And this was what he said that stuck in my mind.
Trump is such an outsized figure.
Yeah.
But the groundwork for Trump has really been laid in our country for the past 40 or 50 years.
Yeah.
And it is that the right wing very explicitly decided, and this is in the 70s and 80s after Nixon was taken down, and Roger Ailes, who ran Fox News for a long time, was Nixon's advisor. They explicitly stated, we need to control the narrative so that what happened to Nixon could never happen again to another Republican. And they built parallel structures of authority in news, in institutions like universities, in think tanks, almost to shift to this other track, the facade that they could build on the side.
And so I'm kind of obsessed with this right now.
It's great stuff.
So here, the purple line is just the status quo, right? Like that's how things generally, like it says here, center right, slowly angling to the left over time. Most people generally got their, local news, NBC, CBS, CNN came about in the 80s and so on. There was a generally agreed upon history and reality. Generally scientific consensus was, secularism was, although there's a lot of Christianity in the culture and stuff, there's generally government and such was secular. And then, mainstream media and pop culture, everybody shared the same right? And then there was this nexus point, as I called it, because I love sci-fi terms, where the Cold War ended, the Republican Party kind of fucking was in disarray. And, this is the late 80s, early 90s. Things like Rush Limbaugh and AM radio became a big deal. Murdoch launched Fox News. Roger Ailes, as Jon Stewart just said, was worked for 3 different Republican presidents. It was kind of just this pretty insidious fucking propagandist. They started operating based on John Birch Society propaganda, which, presumably had been kind of excised from the conservative, movement in the 40s or 50s. But no, there a lot of the ideas that John Birch Society perpetuated were like conspiratorial thinking, sensationalism, outrage, inflaming racial bias, painting everything with even just the Democrats, not even the left, as like radical communist crazy shit. And so that stuff started getting implanted and building this parallel structure of social authority and news media. So then things started to diverge, right? And then we get, around here, and obviously this is not exact, but you get the idea. And then you had the housing market collapse. Obama was elected, which, really kind of cracked open the racism problem in the U.S. As far as like, I didn't think it was that bad. I don't think a lot of people did.
No, I didn't think it was that bad.
And then the Citizens United, that really fucked us. Which, if you don't know what that is, that's when the Supreme Court decided, no, actually corporations are people and they should be able to donate, money, and you end up with dark money, essentially. If you don't know what dark money is, look it up. There's a really good book on it by Jane Mayer. And then there was this study that came out that projected that by, I think, 2050, white people were going to be the minority in the U.S. Right? At the same time, you had social media becoming the thing. So then you had dark money influencing campaigns, as well as think tanks, libertarian-funded think tanks like the Koch brothers, right? That are coming up with ways that they can manipulate information and manipulate voters and so on and so forth. And then pretty soon after that, you started seeing, kind of results of that to a degree. Gamergate, I do believe, was separate from general politics, specific politics at first. But as Steve Bannon has admitted, he intentionally weaponized that, which was kind of corralled into what became the MAGA movement. And then you had anti-SJWs on YouTube. That was where a lot of the shit that we deal with now was born. And the alt-right. And then, there you go. There's a result. So if you think about it like this, anti-fandom is just the fandom version of that on this track. And what is the purpose of that? So when Trump was elected in 2016, they kind of started to, they basically want to get the train on their track to where it could never go back. Right? Is this making sense? Okay.
Yes.
Somebody said it's awesome. That's good. Because when I'm doing, I'm like, do I look like Charlie Day from, the meme where he's like,
check this out. Take a look at this.
Jesus Christ,
That
Charlie.
right. Can we talk about the mail, please, Mac? I'm dying to talk about the mail.
and whenever he lost in 2020. That's probably a good bit of the reason why they had encouraged such a crazy fucking fervor that people stormed the Capitol on January 6th, because basically they saw their moment slipping away. That like we were on the track. We had our train on our track, and there was nothing and then we lost, and they fucking couldn't handle it. And they're still desperate. So basically what we're experiencing right now is a fucking existential fight to keep them from putting the train of reality and the future on their goddamn track. And that's why Eric July, that's why Geeks and Gamers, that's why all these people lie unashamedly, and they don't care if they're called on it. They will just triple down, make crazy claims against people that call them out on it, that it doesn't matter to them, because that's not what their fucking goal is. Their goal is not facts or honesty or anything. Their goal is, to create a reality that is just their values or lack thereof, rather.
I can only think of one thing to say about that. That's the best clip I grab on short notice. But
That's pretty good.
I love this, and yeah, it's just I think it sums it up incredibly well. I haven't thought of it quite this way, but yeah.
I mean, it's a kind of I guess a layperson's, but maybe not, because I pay a little bit more attention than. But I mean, yeah, it checks out. I think, of course, there's probably some. So like when it comes to Gamergate and how all this kind of started mixing together, there's some gray area there. I probably have some things not exactly right.
I want to say, I see Mikey's comment about being fearful about this is, yeah, there could be darker times, but these people will be remembered in history books as the villains.
Mm-hmm.
They will be the ones that we're talking about as villains, 30, 40 years from now.
We have to make sure that, though. That's not.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've seen historically progress always wins. So we're going to have to see. There are pockets of this in the world, but I don't think we're there yet. We're definitely fighting the fight right now. I would not lose hope at this moment.
No,
Losing
don't
hope
lose
is what
hope.
they want. Yeah.
Don't lose hope. But I mean, it's important to have hope, but it's also important to understand that like they are doing everything they can to make it so that no matter how hard we fight, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so that's why they're doing stuff. That's why they gerrymander districts. They do. They're passing all these voter laws that we won't know for sure how those are going to affect any election until the election. Right.
Right.
They're busy doing a lot of shit, and they have.
They're trying. Yeah. I give them
and
that.
like, if Trump had won in 2020, I don't believe we'd have come back from that.
Right.
I think that there would have been every effort successfully probably put in place to.
I probably wouldn't even live in this country anymore if that would have happened. We were actually contemplating moving to either Canada or Australia, somewhere else completely.
I've contemplated that a lot.
But it also worries me, because if people like us leave, then it's going to go unchecked. So it's one of those things where, you want to fight back, but you also need to think of your own safety and
your loved ones. And like in a certain point, there is like a, Battlestar Galactica, like in the pilot episode, whenever after the attack on the colonies and you know, at first Commander Adama and he's like, we got to take the fight to the Cylons, and then new President Roslin, she's like, it's already over. We just go. Like, we can't fight.
Yeah.
You know, there's only a few.
Right.
Like, it becomes about survival.
Yeah. And I don't think we're there yet, but you're right.
Yeah.
If Trump would have been reelected, it might have been a tougher